So it should start recording in a minute. Yep, great. Okay, so welcome everyone. It's lovely to see you. And we just start with a little centering exercise where we put our feet on the ground, our bum even on the chair. We lift up our spine slightly. And if you feel like it, shut your eyes. If you don't feel like it, that's fine. Just soften your gaze and look down a little bit. And then bring the mind inside of your body and down. So the move of mindfulness is inside and down into your belly. And you don't do anything other than watch. So you watch your breathing. You watch the body sensations. You watch thoughts come and go. You watch the noises all around you come and go. You just watch. You turn on a part of you which is happy to sit here, happy to be present in this moment. You switch on that part of you that is happy not to interfere with life, not to fix life, not to change things, not to react. So even little annoyances like, I don't know, like people around you, or maybe you have a little itch. Maybe you have other little annoyances like thoughts. So you don't need to pay attention to the annoyances, just pay attention to everything. Pay attention to all the sensations, everything that comes and goes. And if you want to narrow your focus to the breath, that helps settle us, helps steady us. And after just this very short time, you might already begin to notice that your body begins to relax slightly. You might begin to notice that the breath goes a bit deeper or longer. Or maybe the breath changes rhythm in other ways, so it might actually become shallower. As I say, we're just watching, we're not interfering, not fixing. Need to get involved with any of this. Just observe it. Okay, and when you're ready, 1 or 2 slightly deeper breaths. Or maybe yawn or stretch. Oh, I don't know about you, but started at my desk a couple of hours ago and already I've got knots in my neck and shoulder. So yeah, just noticing that. And if you've got any water, having a slug of water. Staying hydrated. Good. So lovely to see you. I'm sorry we're such a small group, but actually I don't care because this is lovely to teach a small group, but it means we can be intimate, and I can respond directly to your questions and comments, which I will do in a minute. I'm going to introduce myself just using a couple of slides, if that's okay. So we'll just look at who I am and what I'm here to teach you. So along with my co-author, let's see, along with my co-author, Dr. Phil Renshaw, I'm Dr. Jenny Robinson. We wrote a book called Coaching on the Go. It has ideas from mindfulness threaded through it, but it isn't a book about mindfulness. It's actually a book about leadership. Mindfulness book I'm just writing now, and Phil will edit early next year, and it will be out next year. So it will be called Mindfulness on the Go. And all of our teaching, all of our philosophy is about how we can break things into little snackable bits of content. So it's just a piece of this and a piece of that. And actually, by putting all the pieces together, you build up a very giant jigsaw and a very comprehensive jigsaw. But our belief is that most people these days haven't got time or attention to, do much other than 10 minutes a day. So we build everything around that philosophy. And I notice I'm just getting buzzed, so excuse me, I'm going to just check in case that is somebody from AbbVie trying to get hold of me or get into this. No, it's not, so I'm putting my phone on silent now. This might be this is definitely my last session for the year. And I hope to be back in 2023, but there's never any guarantee. So I was thinking about, what I'd really love to leave you with. I was thinking about, kind of the big takeaway, the thing that I could absolutely, drill into you or leave you with the key takeaway. And so, what I wanted to do was do that. So today we want to talk about different modalities, thinking and sensing. And I'm going to just talk about this as a central way of thinking about what is mindfulness, how does mindfulness work, and why do we care about thinking and sensing? So one of the great myths about mindfulness is that we're going to stop our thinking. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, I can't do mindfulness because I can't meditate. Or they say, I can't do mindfulness because I can never stop thinking. And so in some ways, they think that thinking is a failure. And I'm kind of here to tell you that thinking is not the problem. What we do with our thinking and how we relate to our thinking is part of the exploration of mindfulness. But thinking that we have to stop thinking is not a mindfulness concept. So most of the Western world suggests that thinking is a good thing, and all the clever people do a lot of thinking. And that's why the green triangle is on the top, and the green triangle has a big fat bit at the top, because most of us spend most of our life up there. We do lots and lots of thinking, lots and lots of problem solving, lots and lots of planning about the future, lots and lots of reflection on what's happened in the past. But what mindfulness teaches us is that there is another set of modalities. I've called them sensing modalities. And these sensing modalities are actually often ignored, and they are very, very helpful. So one of the things I like to say is that thinking is good for solving actual problems. So thinking is really great for me navigating from here to the office in Marlow. Thinking is really great for me to figure out how I am going to unfreeze my pipes, my water pipes that have frozen overnight, and how I'm going to get water to flow through those pipes without flooding various parts of my property. That's a classic problem that thinking is good for. But we tend to use thinking for all sorts of other realms of our life. So we like to use thinking to think about love. We like to use thinking to think about happiness. We like to use thinking to think about stress. And if thinking was going to be able to solve these big problems, these big life issues, love, happiness, contentment, stress, anxiety, whatever, then because we're intelligent people, we would have solved this. We would have solved the problems of our life, and we would never get stressed. We would never be unhappy. We would never lose a sense of contentment, because we'd be able to think our way back to happiness. But you'll know, and I certainly know, that there is no way that I have found that I can think my way to happiness. And that's because many of the most precious commodities of our lives, many of the most precious parts of our life are not going to be solved by thinking. And to sort of get closer to happiness, to get closer to contentment, to get closer to equanimity, to get closer to joy and playfulness and laughter and connection, we have to move away from thinking and into a different modality. And so, as I said at the beginning, we're not going to lose our thinking. We're not going to stop our thinking. We're just going to rebalance our thinking with other modalities of sensing. And that is fundamentally what the mindfulness practice is designed to do. It's going to move us slightly down, much more towards the middle. It might occasionally move us even further down into our sensing domains. And occasionally we'll then pop back, right back up to thinking. So we'll oscillate up and down and up and down until we develop a steady mindfulness practice. And a steady mindfulness practice will allow us to really inhabit the sensing domain and to notice our thinking domain. So just before I lose my slides, which I'm going to in a minute because I can't see you and you can't see me while I've got slides on, let me just give you a screen which gives you tons more resources. If you want to take a photo of this screen or do a screen grab of this screen, here are multiple resources for me and my teaching and how you can stay in touch. I offer lots and lots of things free of charge online. I do free teaching online on Mondays at 6 p.m. UK time. So please be in touch with me if you're interested in anything about mindfulness or any of your mindfulness related practice questions. But really, what I'd love to do today is to engage in some mindfulness practice with you, and also to stimulate a dialogue with you about this teaching. because it's when you come close to these ideas, you know, really make them relevant to you and your situation, that the teaching comes alive and begins to have a very, very profound effect on you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lead a short meditation now, and I'm going to keep the recording going through this. And then I'm going to close the recording so that we can have a dialogue and we can just explore some ideas together. So once again, put your feet flat on the floor and your bum on the seat. And the reason we're doing this is because if we have symmetry in our body, and if we have got our ears over our shoulders and our shoulders over our hips, and our hips are sitting squarely on our chair, then there is no muscle required to hold us in position. And that means that when we are concentrating, when we're in our mindfulness practice, we don't have any clenching or holding or out of, you know, we don't have any need to continually adjust. So this is why most mindfulness teachers spend a little bit of time on posture or showing you posture, because there's nothing special about posture other than it saves us energy and it saves us from clenching of our muscles. And then it doesn't really matter if you have your eyes closed or your eyes open, but the move of the mind is in and down. And that's the sensing move. So we're moving our attention into the realms of sensing. So let's get started. We'll be here for about 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how our energy goes. So you can see, spend a little bit of time sort of getting yourself set up so that you kind of start from a position where, yeah, you feel stable and calm, and then you maintain that stability. So when you're ready, shutting your eyes or lowering your gaze and moving the mind gently inside of yourself and down. And let's put our mind all the way down into our feet. So now we're using the modality of sense or sensations in the feet. And when you begin to notice what's happening in your feet, you might find all sorts of things. You might find pressure of the feet on the floor. You might find bits of your feet are cold, and you might find bits of your feet are hot. So just spend some time exploring inside of your feet with those sorts of sensations: pressure, hot or cold. And then you might find other sensations as well. The shape of your shoes or your socks pressing against your feet. You might find your toes. You might find your toes and the gaps between the toes. And you might begin to notice it's easier to find things in one foot, but it takes a little bit more effort or concentration to find them in the other foot. Just notice that. You don't need to make a fuss about it, just notice it. And then maybe notice if you can find your toenails. Can you find your toenails without wiggling your toes, without creating anything, just using the very, very fine exploration with your mind of your toes and finding the toenails. And let's come back into the whole feet, the whole of the foot, and move your attention into a wider domain. So feet and ankles. And now come up to the lower leg, so feet, ankles, and lower leg. As if you're sort of moving a ray of sunshine or moving the lens of a camera or just expanding a spotlight. You're going from the small to the large, the smallness of toenails all the way up to the lower leg, all the way up to the knee. Expand even further from the toes, the feet, the ankles, the lower legs, and into the thighs. And all you're doing again is noticing sensations. So you're noticing pressure, warmth, cold, tingly. Notice if you can find the bones, the fleshy bit, the skin, the feel of your clothing on that skin. Then roll all the way up to the tummy button, so up to the middle of the torso. Feeling into the hips, the hip joints, the pelvis, the lower belly as you breathe. And then roll up from your belly button to the tops of your shoulders. So the ribs, the rib cage, the chest, the shoulder girdle, but also the back of the body. So the shoulder blades, the back spine, When you're ready, add in the fingers, the hands, the lower arms, the elbows, and the upper arms. So the whole of the body in awareness, from the shoulders all the way down to the toes. And now let's add in the head. So starting with the jaw and the jawline. Noticing particularly if there's any tension here, because that's often where we find it. Going into the mouth, the teeth and the tongue and the roof of the mouth. Millions of sensations here, millions of things to find. And allowing our attention to go out to our ears, our inner ear, our outer ear, our earlobe, around the back of the ears, coming up the back of the head, back of the hairline, over the top of the head, into the forehead and the brow line, and temple to temple, and then through the eyes, relaxing, and finally into the nose. So just ending with your attention fully on the nose, so where the breath enters and leaves the body, you can now pay attention solely to the tip of the nose and to the breath, the waves of each breath. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. So through this meditation, we've been exploring breath and body sensations. And you may have noticed that your thinking has accompanied us on this journey, but maybe a little bit less thinking than you are usually used to, and maybe sometimes a little bit more. But by placing our mind in our body and in our breath, we're turning on different modalities. So once again, when you're ready, maybe take one or two slightly deeper breaths. Begin to become aware of the room in which you're sitting, the desk in which you're facing, or the window, or wherever you are. And very, very slowly begin to add in some movement of the body. And come back to eyes open and take your time adjusting to the environment in which you're sitting and where you find yourself. And I'm going to stop the recording because I would like to have a conversation.